Okay. I will open the License Review Board Committee meeting. First order of business is we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. We have the April 16th minutes, which I didn't have any issues with. The April 23rd meeting minutes, I didn't have any issues. I did on the April 30th. The Licensing Review Board agreed to meet each week while we're doing collaborating. I felt like in the last meeting, we chose, like we weren't going to meet weekly anymore. We were going to meet as
Right.
needed.
I thought it was as needed, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, as needed. Great, thank you.
Yeah, but other than that, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, so. Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I have to admit, I made it through like Article 1 with all of the changes, like the close edit. And I had some edits. So I don't know, are you gonna work back there, Tim? Like, I'll talk loud so you can hear any.
I think so, just because I guess if we have somebody
Okay.
who joined, I don't know how.
That's true. Okay. Yes,
You know, like we did the first go.
I'm doing color coded, so
Yeah, love color.
I'll give you my color coded
I'll try to
notes.
listen to and make changes.
Orange means I'm happy, and green means I'm changing something, so.
Okay.
We're gonna go through the whole thing line by line, good.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah, that's good with everyone.
Yep.
The first page, which has the
Definitions.
index.
Oh.
I was going to leave that alone
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
moment
yeah.
because I want to get everything settled
Yeah, yeah,
down
yeah.
and then make edits.
Yes.
But just one thing to note, Kim, is we are going to be swapping Article 2 and Article 3. So I'll mark that up after we get through the body of the document. So we're going to have Article 1 will be general provisions, and then Article 2 will be the prohibited acts, and then Article 3 will be disciplinary procedures. Because that seems, I think, makes more sense for the order.
Yeah.
Like, they need to know what's prohibited before they can read the discipline act, so. All right, so then turning the page, going to Article 1, general provisions, under definitions. Go ahead.
Contract. So should it
Which
say
one?
written contract, the third one?
Okay.
Should it say written or verbal? Because
Right,
if I say how we're gonna replace this roof for you, and I say it's gonna be $5,700, and you say, go ahead, it's a verbal contract. According to this, it's not a contract.
right, and I didn't have that we were taking oral out, but I think I like verbal contract better.
Yeah.
Okay, so written and verbal.
Yeah, so it'll be an,
I think oral was in there originally, so just,
yes, yeah, just change the word oral to verbal.
Verbal, I think.
Yeah.
No,
is that necessary to change it from oral to verbal?
I feel like it's a more modern day usage,
Yeah.
a
Okay.
verbal contract versus an oral contract. I
All
don't know.
right, okay. I've actually never heard of a
It's
verbal.
not in here at all under contract, unless it's in the older version. I don't
mean-
have the older version up.
Oh,
The
yeah.
original
Doesn't
version.
matter.
Drops my-
I was just thinking,
An
it
oral?
I would
Yeah,
just say,
I mean,
well,
you
yeah.
could leave it at oral.
doesn't matter, I was just surprised, like, what? Okay,
I don't know.
next.
Okay, so, I mean, what does everybody think? Like,
I like verbal.
I like verbal.
I don't care.
Okay, good. Not uncharacteristically, I am in the minority, yeah?
I mean, a cop gives you a verbal order, he doesn't give you an oral order,
Right, that's right.
right?
Yeah, going up to building inspector. I had any duly appointed building inspector or code enforcement.
I was gonna almost do zoning / code enforcement, or,
No,
No,
well,
it's
we have building inspectors, or we have,
Where are you, Amber, I'm sorry.
under building inspector.
Okay,
So any duly appointed building inspector.
and then I was gonna do and zoning / code enforcement, because aren't the zoning
Oh,
code,
okay, yeah,
right? Instead of
Yes.
the and,
okay, yep, that
And
works.
zoning /
no, zoning instead of the and, make that a / code. So any building inspector and zoning / code enforcement.
Well,
Is that
no, I
or no?
thought and was good.
Yeah, any building inspector and Oh, and for zoning and code, or zoning,
Wait, let me just look at this again.
the word and or the symbol and?
I had any duly appointed building inspector or code enforcement officer.
Well, yeah.
And you left out zoning, so do zoning, do or, then do zoning / code.
Zoning is the code. The code enforcement officer is the zoning officer.
Right,
That's
that's,
the code he's enforcing. Well, the building code as well, right?
right, that's why I took out zoning.
Well, we have to leave it in. I would, they're both, they all count, don't they? I mean, they're the zoning officer as well, those are the
You
same.
need to add the word officer after enforcement.
Which is down there, we just have to get rid of the town of Shelter Island, it was in there twice. So that
I know
first,
Yes, yes. Get rid of the first option.
You know what you want to say, Amber, you don't have to have
I know, I'm
a
just-
committee meeting on that particular level. I don't think.
well, but,
Make it make sense.
yeah, the zoning I had taken out, so,
Yeah, just, they're all in the same basket there, I think, though, aren't they?
yes. So we're gonna keep, so we're keeping zoning?
Yeah, I would say,
Okay,
just,
yeah, all right, so then it's gonna be building inspector or zoning and code enforcement officer of the town of Shelter Island.
Okay, appointed building inspector or,
Yeah, I'll give you my green notes.
Yes.
yeah.
or.
It's probably better to keep zone, because since, if it's just code, they might think it's just building code.
Right?
Right. The next one that I had was just a little nit under property improvement. I'll just give that to you. It's an uppercase that's needed for property improvement in the quotations. But I'll give those to you, Kim.
Okay. I'll just count on your,
Yes.
I'm not gonna keep trying.
And was there
Yes.
something that A is like missing?
Yes, well, we were taking out the sale or construction of a new home other than a custom home is defined in this section, so we're
Okay.
taking that out, so then B becomes A,
Yeah, okay,
C
okay.
becomes B, C, D, E.
Gotcha.
That was the
Yep,
only
yep, okay,
changes I
okay.
had. Did anyone have anything else on that?
On F,
F.
I
Yes.
thought maybe we should move that to 98.5. Because all the other things describe actions, and then you slip to a person or,
Oh, okay, let me see, so 98.5.
anyway, that's my initial thought, exceptions.
Yes, okay, so an owner that performs his or her own property improvement work. So property improvement shall not include the sale.
And there should be, in that 98.4, it should say except as in hereafter provided, I think. I mean, it can be done either way, but it's, the exceptions is really the
Right,
key.
yes.
Yes. Okay, that's good,
Well, it works either way, really.
yeah. So,
Depends on what time of day it is as to whether I like it or not, truly, I have to be honest. Sometimes in the morning, it's like, that's no good.
all right, so then the owner that performs his or her own will be, we've got B, C, D, E, F, so that would be G.
Yeah, you could work that out just about anywhere.
Okay, so let me just. That was 98.5 dash, 98.5.
Good one. That may not work out by the time it's typed up.
It will, we're gonna make it work. Okay, so then we just have A, B, C, and D as under the property improvement shall not include. Okay, all right. And then we just have to clean up the awkward break.
I mean, the reason I thought that we moved that is just because he isn't, you're still doing, improvement. It's just a function of you're being allowed to do it in the other section.
On that awkward page break, I don't know if you're, like, you've got this kind of weird
Yeah.
going on. So again, we had an oral was crossed off, so we'll
Okay.
put in a verbal or written agreement.
So, in definition,
Throw me a bone here. Can we?
What did we settle on? Oral or verbal? What was it?
Verbal,
I missed the,
I think we settled verbally on verbal.
Okay.
verbal agreement amongst the committee members.
So,
Okay, yes.
it just seems kind of weird, some have property improvement and general contractor
Yeah, and it's a little awkward.
That was, where are you? Because I took
in
out.
definitions.
Looks like something I would try to pull up in sixth grade.
Yeah.
I pulled out.
Mr. Shai will say, no, you can't.
I had a question there because in my notes, I just had property improvement contractor that we didn't put and general in.
Right, or say up top, go back up to put a G in and say, general contractor shall be considered a property improvement contractor, something like that. Shoot it.
Who was that? Somebody was running along there.
You know, I mean, honestly, the definition, if you left out general contractor, the definition would include them anyway,
That's what I thought.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I had a question mark to take it out, but I thought maybe.
But then you have to reorder it still too.
Well, no, we're just gonna put property improvement contractor, because if property improvement.
Oh, no, but you have to put it, are you putting them in alphabetical order? You have to reorder it,
Oh, yes, oh, good,
reorder
good
it.
note, yes. So, it's not my note here, so I.
I have one more thing on that page. Oh, no, we did that, right? We did the move, we moved the owner things, right? Okay, sorry.
Then, sole proprietor, I thought we were gonna take that out and not include it.
Where are you?
I'm still on the definitions,
Yeah,
so, sole proprietor,
sole proprietor. Thought they did take it out.
yes, it's in this draft,
Okay.
so I thought we were taking out.
And where you had written that in, like as a separate, and your first
My first,
set of
notes,
edits or notes, yeah.
yeah, let me check, because I think, yeah, because I think maybe at our next meeting after that one.
Okay, maybe you took it out then.
Why should that be delineated? What was the thought behind that?
Sole proprietor?
Yeah.
I thought we took it out, like at first,
Oh,
first we were
okay,
going
all
to
right.
include it, but now I'm like, took it out. I think the only reason we were going to do that is because sole proprietors can't get workman's compensation. And so we were going to use it.
Well,
as
they
a-
can, it doesn't cover them.
Right.
It doesn't
right,
really
yes.
do anything. It's
Right,
like-
yeah, yeah, but I think
I
we're,
mean, you had it, so workman's comp, I guess it just becomes, it just goes away, and then the people
It would
like,
be under insurance.
Jalone and myself, you know, that work by themselves.
It would be under, the sole proprietor should just be referred under the insurance
right,
section.
exactly. So we're taking that
Taking it out,
definition
yes.
out.
Taking it out,
That's where-
okay.
Yes.
That's back.
But yes, Kim, I had put it in
Okay.
one draft. So, quotation.
Under exceptions, under E, just put a comma for in the 5,000.
Yeah, I had that too, for the dollar amount. Like the, a comment.
Yeah,
in the-
everywhere, there's a couple, yeah.
So yes, 98.4, we added Paul's except as hereinafter provided. Oh, we missed one, under the exceptions. No license shall be required under this chapter in the following instances. I thought we were going to put in a property improvement contractor for whom the total cash price of all of their property improvement contracts with all customers does not exceed $15,000 during any period of 12 consecutive months.
Yeah, we did.
Point.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm adding that back in, which then makes.
Yeah, that got shifted around somewhere. It's in there, but I don't know where.
That's under terms,
It's under terms,
terms of license of property, yeah.
which section?
98.
You know, it might fit better under exceptions.
Exceptions, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 96A.
Oh, yes, I did come across that later, yes. But yeah, I think it's better under the exception.
I actually, yeah, I have mine, it's in red as A, and I made mine a K and put it up underneath, shoved it up in the exception zone.
Yeah.
You see that in 98.6A?
Mhm. Yes,
All right, that should have been K, it should have been bumped up.
Okay, I'm moving it to A.
Whatever, I don't care.
I feel like it's sort of,
Yeah, the exceptions like that, in the beginning, fine.
so then the exceptions A through E on this page become B through F. And then you had the 5,000, put the comma in.
It wasn't there twice, two places.
Yes, okay, yeah, I think I got that too. Yes, in my notes. All right, yeah, then F becomes G. H, so F, G, and H become G, H, and I.
Okay.
Issuance in I should be capitalized. The little things.
Actually, I had that we got rid of I.
What's that?
Where are you?
I'm under, hold on a second,
Ninety?
98.5
Yeah,
I,
I,
because it was an architect, professional engineer, all of those got
Yeah.
deep sixed. And then the last thing that's still left is issuance and all such contractors holding such certificates. I think that was just, it didn't get deleted. So I.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
I gets taken away.
It didn't make sense, I was just reading, it didn't make sense, okay, that makes sense, good.
Yeah,
So I is completely gone.
yeah. So then we still keep J, and then K gets taken out. So the K just has to, like, it's a dangling K.
Yeah.
And then under 98-6, term of licenses, that whole A, a property improvement contractor, that all for 12 months, so that all that's under in terms of licenses, all licenses shall be valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issuance thereof. Subsequent.
oh, yeah, but I'm sorry.
98-6.
So you don't need an A because there's nothing else there, like on the renewal, there's no A, B, or C, so.
Yeah, the only thing that stays under terms of license was the original language, which is all licenses shall be valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issuance
This is
thereof.
one paragraph, there's
Yeah,
no A.
exactly.
Right, one thing I noted there is that 1 month lead time is like, I've never heard of that with a license before.
Oh, actually, that's a good catch. I didn't.
I mean, I don't know if it's a catch or not, it struck me as odd.
Yeah, I don't, you're right. I don't think we have it anywhere else.
You know, you got to, you know,
Almost say, almost,
I mean, you would prefer that, obviously, but you know, I
I
mean,
would almost think that they would say something like, renewal application will be mailed out 1 month prior to
Right.
expiration.
Right.
That's to me what it should
Yeah.
say, something like
Right.
that. Is that the bill, because that seems what.
either it's a 12-month,
Does.
it's a 1-year license or it's not.
We send a renewal notification a month ahead.
Yeah, so that, I think, could
So,
just reword that 98.7 to say, it doesn't have to be renewed prior, but to say, just for their, it will be license renewal application will
Yeah.
be mailed out 1 month prior to expiration of existing license.
I'd rather not put that in because that's more of a procedural thing
Okay.
for the building department.
right, you don't want to commit them by law
Exactly.
necessarily.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Sensible,
So we're getting rid of that whole sentence then.
I think.
Good catch. I didn't see that.
Yes.
Um,
Or just say it must be, just eliminate the word 1 month. At least annually.
yeah, I mean, I thought about that.
Annually prior to the expiration of the existing license.
Relatively obvious, but it doesn't hurt to say it, I guess.
I crossed that out, annually renewed, or at least 1 month
What
prior.
happens with a driver's license if you're late and you go to the vet to get it renewed? So you have to take the test and everything or?
No,
No.
you have you have
Grace period or something?
There is-
6 months, you can't drive, but you can renew it in 6 months.
Okay.
I only know that because I renewed mine, you can renew it a year in advance, which I
Yeah.
did.
Uh-huh.
Because since it was gonna be, mine expired while I was gone. I
Right.
didn't wanna have to deal with.
Okay, so, yeah, whatever, I was just, that struck me as odd, so that,
All right, so we're going to say licenses must be renewed annually prior to the expiration of the existing license.
just one of those dumb things you gotta tell people, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, don't forget. Okay. Don't be surprised if we end up going through this one more time.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, I would think
definitely.
so.
After it's typed up and looks official.
Yes.
Yes,
Looks dreadful.
Because what I, just to take a pause for a minute, what I want to do is like get our edits pulled together and then give it to the building department and the town attorney to look over. Then we'll look at what their edits and recommendations are. And then I'd like to do like a once over, like red line copy and a non-red line copy to see how it reads without all the distractions.
Right, yeah, it's-
Can I just ask, right in that section of renewal, on renewal, an applicant must submit proof that they remain in compliance with requirements of this chapter
Mhm.
and that they are not otherwise in violation. They submit proof? I mean, I don't quite understand that because they don't.
Well, they're sending new insurance
Oh.
certificates.
Okay, so I think.
That's proof, I mean, I would assume proof that they are in compliance. To be in compliance, you need proof of
I
insurance.
don't know.
I think,
Though I had to, yeah, I had to send in my certificate that I didn't need workman's comp.
Mm.
You know, with the license, so I mean, with the fee back in the day. So, yeah,
yeah,
Do we want to specifically say proof of insurance?
I think.
Because
because
that's
all of
really,
I mean, that's a term of the license being issued, period, so in a renewal, that would come up.
You know, not otherwise in violation of any provision herein and that they completed all required training.
I mean, when they send out renewal notices, I mean, I don't know what the other people have to send in, you know, because I was, you know, sole proprietor, which no longer exists anymore. That's my life. But,
Because it's the land.
when they
the DEP
send out the
person
renewal
decides.
notices, what do they send back, just a check?
They send back their insurance, their updated insurance
Okay.
certificates and a check.
So they are demonstrating, they're offering the proof that we're referring to,
That's
yeah?
what I'm trying to say, is that that's what the renewal usually is. Sometimes people fill out the application all over again. If there's a change, name change or an address
So
change.
we're clear, are you saying that what it says here is contradicts that in some way?
Well, I think it's confusing. Like I think what Amber was just saying, the applicant must submit in updated insurance certificates or
Okay.
something, because that, you know, that they remain in compliance with requirements of this chapter, just to me, what is that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever works for you guys, that way.
I just have to say, what we get are updated insurance certificates for both liability and workman's comp.
just thinking about this for a minute, do we want them to make a statement that they remain in compliance with the rest of the requirements? Or is that?
It's kind of assumed.
The affidavits that have to be signed in front of someone usually, or can you
Yeah,
just
no,
send them
that's
in?
what I'm thinking,
I
like,
mean, when
you
you
know,
renew your driver's license, you don't say, you just basically pay a
You,
fee.
you,
That's your eye test.
you do sign, it's something with the with various things like registrations, you sign saying that this is, I've told the truth and
An attest.
I hereby attest that I didn't lie to you. Because I would never do that.
I don't think you do when you do license renewal, do you?
Well, I don't know, you go, on a license renewal, you gotta go up there anyway, right? If you find, at least I always did, you gotta get checked if you wear glasses or whatever else, and you gotta go up there, you gotta appear in person for a renewal.
Yeah, go on.
Registration renewals you do by mail, but license you gotta get, you're gonna want an updated photo as we age, you know? There's a time when I had hair, I did, almost as much as I was got in his face.
That was a long time ago.
okay,
Anyway.
So what do we do with the remain in compliance? So Kim, did they sign anything?
They sign, if they are resending their application, they sign that. That's it. No, many times people just send their.
I just send a check and it's.
And their insurance, updated insurance certificates.
Okay, so we're not saying that, like, I mean, it's kind of like, what's the legal term, prima facie, that they remain in compliance with this chapter if they're renewing?
Right this minute can't think of the application itself because I thought I had a copy here, but I don't. I don't think there's anything that's a.
They don't have anything that they're signing.
Well, You know what? But then in 98.8, it says application for licenses or renewals shall file an application.
Hmm,
That's,
You're right.
hasn't, you haven't been enforcing that. Or renewal, they'll file an application. Is that required? I mean, if you're renewing it every year, it's like, I almost think you don't even have to have a whole chapter about renewal. It's like, the license is good for 1 year. If you want to keep it going, you have to renew it. Like,
Right.
it's like, duh.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, because
the
they.
pouring permit,
I think
you're,
they're covered in here too, that if a contractor isn't got work on this island just now, they
Right.
don't renew.
right,
You know, then they will renew when they do get work here, so.
yes.
Okay.
It's saying like licenses must be renewed annually prior to the expiration. No, that's not true. If you're retiring,
Oh.
you don't have to renew it. If you, that's the last job you're doing, you don't, I think we could strike that whole chapter personally.
well, but we do want upon renewal, an applicant must submit proof of insurance.
But they're doing that in here, if they're in 98.8, they're doing, like they're filing an applicant, if they're gonna file a new application, it's basically a new application each year.
You know, you can almost roll renewal into terms of license.
But are we making them, like, if you let your license lapse for 6 months and then you get another job on Shelter
Yeah.
Island, then do you just renew your license, or do you have to fill out an application because it's been 6 months?
I don't think there's there's no difference in the building department, I don't think, I mean,
Most probably, I think that we usually let about a year go by. It really depends on, if literally their license is still filed, mostly we let them sit there for about a year. And then if they do not, if they don't renew, we put them in a obsolete file. But I'd say most of them sit in the file for a good year.
do you review a new application or renewal any differently? It's the same fee, same stuff is needed.
Well, like I say, most renewals do not come with an application necessarily.
Right, okay,
An application is usually put forward if there are name changes,
Right,
address
right.
changes, telephone, email. And sometimes people fill them out exactly again, but we don't make them. So most
Okay.
times, if it's just a renewal, you get somebody sending updated insurance and their check, period.
All right, well, I always understood it to be a cutoff. So I always made sure I got my check there before the day, because that's the way that works,
yeah.
right? I mean, so if you inform people of that in the letter, your license expires. I don't know how much further you need to go than that, but, so how would you like to
Valid
read it?
license to do work, and if it's a 1-year license, you're gonna go and renew it, like,
You would think, but some people might not renew it, but they would come back to continue to work here. And I'm saying if these people want to roll out the rollers, you say, okay, your license is expired at this point. Now, that doesn't mean you can't reinstate it,
right?
but, so I mean, I don't exactly know what the problem is, Peter. So what would you like it to say? Or you want to make it go away?
I almost think you could make it. It's like, say, I mean, it's, in the, motor vehicle code, does it say that, when your license expires, you have to renew it and you have to do this? I mean, it's like obvious. It's like, it says it's good for.
That's fair enough.
It's like,
If you get caught driving without it, you got a problem.
right.
Right.
And if you get caught doing construction without a license.
But these people, I'm just doing what I shouldn't be doing by my ethic, but I'm thinking in their behalf and thinking that if they know that somebody's license is expired and they see them driving around, okay, now we've got a situation where I have somebody I know has an expired license. But I don't know, you know, is there a way to flag that? In other words, I mean, is there a way to drag that up out of the
They're sending out the
bag?
renewals, they know who's coming up and who's,
Yeah. I don't know if the guys know that are doing the cruise, you know what I mean? And the guys out on the road, the secretaries know everything. That's like every other job, right? They know all the bodies are buried, but you know, the guys wouldn't know that. You'd have to have a list. I mean, I don't know what the policy is, and I'm not
Do
sure.
you check, for license? If you haven't seen a contractor in a while, do you check and see that their license is update or just,
She doesn't do that. That would be a guy on the road.
or somebody?
You know what I'm saying? This is out of my field, but it's really, you know, it would have to be a department policy to make a list of the people that are derelict so that you would, you know, now the guy riding around has it.
That's why I'm like, this is where we need you, Kim, or Reed, or.
Well,
Yeah.
I would think that this might be a very, very good place, like I almost,
Right.
you know, I felt like this is almost a little bit ass backwards that he should be sitting in here just, because I think it is a good idea to review these measures.
Yes.
You know, and say,
Yes, okay.
you know, this has been in place a long time, but maybe it,
He needs to sit alone with it for a while to look at it and see what's going on before, you know, because that's gonna be, I promise you, a long discussion if he's here live.
yeah,
Yes.
you think?
Yeah, I do.
All right, so I'm just gonna star this one for Reed's input,
Yeah,
so that we don't make the decision he was.
starting the renewal, just.
The renewal section.
Nice, okay.
Yes.
I would, but you know, of the existing license, to keep the, it's weird, it's saying like, it says you know, there's nothing, it says you have to renew your license annually.
You know,
If,
Right.
you don't have to,
Yeah.
you can drop it at some point if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave all corrections
Yeah,
for
all
Reed.
corrections, yeah.
Yeah,
because you might be able to.
proof of insurance.
Yeah, you might be able to bundle that whole thing with the 1 month thing, we got rid of that, but what, did we leave anything in place with that? I'm having a hard time sticking through this, forgive me. With the 1 month thing we were talking about,
Right, yeah, I guess,
Definitely, I cross that out.
yes.
that's just gone.
Yeah.
You could put something about, the notice will be, you know, we don't want to put that in the code.
You don't wanna put that in.
Right, got it, all right.
So, but we can get rid of the 1 month. And
Yes.
then we can also put proof of insurance. And then the
But
rest.
you will, you know, they could put something in there about there being a notice sent. All licensees will be notified by the building department prior to expiration. Because they will. That's policy.
Yes,
That's policy, no matter what kind of license you're
but
talking.
even though,
Doesn't say when, though.
right, it doesn't say when, but it also, a person may get the notice and say, I'm not doing work on Shelter Island anymore, and ignore it.
Right, at what point, these people want to know that. You know, I mean, I think that there's also somebody who can say, I do have a job, but my license, I don't feel like paying $250.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's why, you know, I'm just thinking in behalf of, whatever. Let them work it out.
Yes.
I'm prepared to move on.
Coast Guard license, you don't get a notice, or
Yeah.
a pilot's license or Coast Guard license. You don't get, it's your responsibility, it's a 5-year license, and it's your responsibility to remember that when it expires.
Okay,
So moving on to 79-8A, we're getting rid of or renewals. Applicants for licenses shall file an application with,
With the building inspector.
yes.
Is it with the building inspector or the building department?
building department, right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
because you're gonna be filing it with Kim or Mary Ellen.
Mhm. Yeah,
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 actually, I wonder if we've got like a couple other places where building inspector,
they act as an agent for the building inspector, so I don't know if it's absolutely essential.
right, yeah, no, but I feel like there probably were a couple other instances where building inspector was in there where it could be building department.
because
Yeah,
Yeah.
does,
It makes-
Kim,
it
like,
makes-
I mean, we've had Reese Eklund's had a license forever, but if I was applying for something and I gave you the check and I gave you
They say
the application
a lot of
and I
these
gave
things
you proof
they're
of
gonna reveal
insurance.
themselves once this thing is
All
tied
right.
up.
Is it just your Mary Ellen, or is Reed or somebody,
It's
one of the
lurching back and
inspectors?
forth
gonna
between
do it?
pages, it's just about to
Do
break my
what?
mind.
Look at them.
Yeah, if it was a new person, if I'm a new contractor and I come to Shelter Island I fill out my application perfectly, and I give you the check and insurance, does it go past you and Mary Ellen?
That's it, yeah,
Right, so it should be building department,
Yeah,
right.
not inspector.
definitely, yeah, definitely. I got myself lost.
98.8.
Building inspector, now building department.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Maybe the application requirements should have gone before renewal.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know, what's the thought?
this is true. Okay. So if that's 79.7.
Just reverse 7 and 8.
Yeah. that's-
Reverse
that's-
7 and 8.
This is gonna be a masterpiece, I just know it.
Well, renewal should go after issuance of
You're liking
license.
it.
Yes,
You like
yes.
it. You like puzzles like this.
I'm doing the best I can. Best I can.
Okay, so it's going terms of license,
Okay, so yeah, renewal's gonna become, let me just think about this. So application requirements is going to become 7.
Issuance of lines is 8,
Yes, and issuance of license will become 8,
and renewals is 9.
will become 9. Renewals will become,
Or do you get it denied before you get to renewal?
oh, you're right. Appeal of denial, yeah, so that should become 9.
That should be
Appeal,
9,
and then
and
renewals
then renewal
becomes
would be 10. Ah, but you can't get it unless you have license fee. I mean, they're all interrelated, you know?
Ooh, right,
License fee, well, that's a whole other chapter, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, the terms of license, I actually thought could have been a more inclusive, but I wasn't sure, what do they call it, terms and conditions? I don't know. What do
yeah.
I know?
Although-
I don't read those things, Microsoft has a giant one, right? Windows is like, what? Yeah, okay, whatever.
So actually, yeah, renewal should be 12. It should go after all the other initial
Yeah.
stuff. Because it's the last.
Yes, yes.
We go renewal. Over here. 12, did I say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So application requirements, so A, we got. Then the next one is B. It says, it has A crossed out, applications shall set forth the name, trade name, and business address of the applicant. That's all that B should say.
Where are you again, Amber?
I'm on what used to be 79.8, well, yeah, 79.8B.
What is it now?
Well, right now it's got a crossed out A, application shall set forth, and we crossed out.
Okay, applicant for the name, trade, and business address of the applicant, got it.
That's all we got there,
It's mostly red here,
yes,
okay,
as it should be,
I like it.
yes. And then we get down to C,
For liability.
and I thought that was okay. I thought D was okay. I thought E was okay.
What is the purpose of having the town of Shelter Island be an additional insured?
Texas.
What?
It's fine, I don't know. Good question. But yeah, I mean, we do,
I mean, it's a pain in the ass, like if somebody has a bank, those 2 houses we did in Stoneley, across from Danny Calabro's barn. One of them had a mortgage and we had to name the bank as additionally named insured.
Yeah,
Like,
I just was curious about that,
it's just insurance.
That's a
is-
lawyer.
what the town's risk is estimated to be.
I'm going to.
So you could ask a question about that to the lawyer.
Yes, I'm gonna ask the lawyer.
If there's.
I don't think we do, and do you check for that currently?
I'm sorry. Go.
Do you check to see if on the liability certificate that
The town is an
the
additional
town is
insured.
named as an additional insured,
Yeah, yes,
or just the certificate holder?
but the town is listed as additionally insured, we looked at that.
Okay.
Maybe because we're issuing a permit, it's just to protect us.
Could be, yeah, there could be some liability associated with the issue, even though you have
It's
a
just a matter of
I mean, because.
standard procedure.
CYA.
Yeah, we do it on wetlands
No, I-
applications and.
It's just, I'm just like,
That's somebody-
insurance companies love that. Okay, anyway,
So
I didn't mean to interrupt.
am I asking the town attorney that question or no?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could ask, I would love to know the answer.
Okay,
Aren't you curious even a tiniest little bit?
Yes, I'm just thinking we do it on wetlands applications, we do it
Yeah.
on site plan
I
review,
know,
so.
but it's one of those
So the
things,
height-
it's like,
Why do we do it?
So.
Because we do it.
That's
what we-
Somebody's just wants to do like a driveway
Applications
apron. We ran into this, the
every-
Heights.
Yeah.
The Heights wanted us now to get permit for the existing driveway aprons, okay? And they wanted us to name them as additionally named insured, and I told Steph, we can't do that. Our insurance company is not going to insure something that's not on our property.
right.
And she went through it with her, and like, yeah, it was right. So I don't even know if you can do it on docks technically, since they're on town property.
But the insurance companies are doing it, I guess they must be doing it. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, they wouldn't do it for the thing in the Heights, for the apron.
I'm sure it
They haven't
was,
even figured out the docks, but.
it was copied from somebody else, I can assure you of that, so somebody else did it first. Almost always, all right, whatever. That's not a backbreaker for me, I'm just curious.
The next one, D, this is where all applicants must submit proof of workers' comp insurance, but were we going to put something in?
Where necessary.
Except for something like.
Well, those sole proprietors are dead,
Out,
they're gone, so where necessary.
where necessary.
Well, it's like, who's the.
You can't have an employee without
I think
it,
an applicant wants to know, yeah.
right? You can't have an employee without it, and if you don't have an employee, you don't need it, and you can't get it. So where necessary, we should do it.
Where necessary, but do you have to define where necessary is?
Well, that's something that these guys would know.
Required?
The department would advise.
I'd like when required instead of where necessary.
Okay, when required. Good enough. Amber? I'm
And 2 in a row now.
I'm familiar with the fine art of giving up. You can have it. It's 2 today, I've lost, I want
I was
it.
gonna say 2 in a row.
It's 2.
now. Yeah.
So things like, just aside from
Required.
insurance.
It's like the hard K. you know.
When
Our,
required.
our insurance will, like our liability and workers' comp, it's set up so it automatically, so if I get our insurance expired and, renewal was in May, say we get our license was in October. We get it in October, yes, here's the valid certificate, but it's there. Do you periodically check and see that and tell people, hey, your insurance is, we need a copy of your new insurance? I mean, we do, as a contractor, we do that constantly to get the current ones from subs because we get audited. So I'm just wondering if you guys do, if there's any mechanism.
There really isn't a mechanism. I mean, I think it's a ongoing, as contractors are taking on a job, we check their license. But no, I can't say that there's any mechanism that is in place that we just automatically check for
Right.
updated insurance.
But if they're taking,
When they take out their license, so update, either begin a license.
Should get
or
it,
renew a
you
license.
should get it with workers' comp, you'll get a notice that it's expiring. Like, if we don't pay our bill, it'll
Right,
say that it's, somebody who's listed as a certificate holder, you'll get a thing that it's, yeah, that makes sense.
like, why am I looking around that to see Ken?
It sets you up as a notice that the certificate holder will get a notice that our insurance is expiring in 30 days. And then if we didn't renew it, pay the premium that it expired. But I don't know if you do for liability, you would get that.
Well, now I have a question. So if you have a contractor's taking on a new job, it's a new permit, you check to see if they have a license. Do you also check to see if their certificate of insurance covers the current period?
right. The license and their current insurance are all,
Okay,
kept
okay.
together.
So if they're not actively involved in a job, or I guess if a job's carried on,
Yeah.
you're not checking then. But it does get triggered at a new permit.
What's getting triggered at a new permit? Whether they have,
Checking the certificate of insurance.
well, their license, the certificate of insurance comes with the license
But
application.
they have different,
Yes.
they don't coincide. They can be 6 months, the expiration of the license can be 6 months
So
different from.
yeah, so you're asking if they check that intermittently.
Right, yes, that's what I was curious about.
I can't say in every case, I just couldn't say it, but we get also the renewals as, like what Peter's saying. If somebody is renewing their license in January, but their renewal for insurance is June,
Yeah,
in June, we get their renewal certificate, yeah.
I think a lot of companies do put it on automatic. I know
yeah,
I had to, like, for the town, I had to review recently, and it's like, why are we sending these?
right.
certificate
Yeah, I get a thing every
insurances
year, I
the
have to go through and check off
Yeah.
ones that are still
I went through the whole list.
keeping,
and
yeah.
took them off. All right, so that was D. So I think we're down to 98-9, but is now 8, issuance of
Just as
license.
so in C and D, we say submit proof, and in E, we say provide proof. It should just be, I hate things when they're like, it should be, make E say, change provide to
I see.
submit. It just bothers me, I don't know, I'm anal on some things like that.
Yep, nope, that's
Like
fine.
it's different.
Sorry, where are you?
In E, so in C and D, you say submit proof of liability, submit proof of workers' comp. In E, you say provide,
Okay.
say submit proof of licensing.
Or,
All to provide or all to submit, but
yeah. Fair enough. That's
I had
the,
never heard of rodenticide. Sounds like something your dentist may use. We're gonna apply some rodenticide.
rat poison. Rat poison.
I was like, where are we? But I just found it.
That's rat poison, my
I
friend.
don't think I'd ever heard that word before. So again, it should be, it's building department in
Right.
98-9, because it's not
Yes.
necessarily the building inspector, it could be Kim or
Yes,
Mary Ellen.
I knew there was more of those.
And so it's in there twice, you have to change that, Kim, in that paragraph.
I mean, ultimately, the only reason I would somebody is culpable, who would that be? In the absence of, everything going the way anticipated. So the building inspector, who's the boss back there? Reed, chief building inspector?
Yes,
Okay, so everything that gets done really, doesn't it have to go through him and as the boss? Man, I mean, Donald Trump aside, most of the time, that's the way that works.
but if then we'd have to change it to chief building inspector if you want it to be the department
Yeah,
head.
and then the problem is,
So I feel like,
when you're waiting for a building permit, and Mary Ellen will say, it's ready, we just need somebody to sign it.
Well, the building inspector is
With a
responsible,
permit, but, right,
just like you have employees that do the
Okay.
work under your direction, they're all part of the program, but at some point, somebody swings.
but but I'm just saying, if the building inspector is not currently examining all these applications and making this investigation, if it's just Mary Ellen and Kim doing that, shouldn't it reflect what's being done?
I don't know, is that what we do?
Yeah, she says they don't look at it, you bring,
But I mean, do we actually say what's being done, or do we, write it as it's, actually, like I said, culpability keeps coming to mind. But I mean, it doesn't matter to me, Peter, except that I'm just bringing it up as a point of like, you keep worrying about whether it says building inspector or department. I'm saying the building inspector, the chief building
you get
inspector is the guy.
you get your driver's license.
As a department head.
When you go to Riverhead to get your driver's license renewed, it's getting issued there, is it the commissioner didn't actually review it?
But it's signed by him.
I think these are things, this is exactly why I'm
The
saying
building department.
this will be wonderful conversation.
Yes, just put a big question mark on that for the building
But
department.
I just wanted to say, this line also, upon completion of the same, the building, let's say, department shall issue a license unless he finds, or they find, that the applicant is unfit or undesirable to carry on such property improvement business. That seems like, who decides that?
That's what I
That was-
just never read it.
I have replacement language for that.
Okay,
Yeah, so we were gonna get rid of is unfit or undesirable, because, yeah, that was too,
Yes.
like, subjective. And change it to has had their license suspended for a certain period of time or revoked. But then the
And-
rest of the wording needs to
And do
get
you
fixed.
wanna, and is it just that license? Like if somebody's a real, can't get a license in Southdale, they had their license revoked and now I'm gonna come over to Shelter Island, maybe I can get one here. In, like any contractors, like, I don't know, do you wanna?
But then that would require the building department to like call the.
But they're not gonna, but it's only if they really know, like if they have some, it would be a reason to deny it. They'd only, if they question something, it's like some guy's real shaky and word gets around. I don't know, there would be grounds that they could
I think
stop
that's,
somebody.
I think that's a lawyer question,
Okay,
just because,
Yeah.
like, innocent until proven guilty, so I don't know.
right,
Like, we
okay,
haven't-
okay,
I don't know.
yeah. But isn't Brett, or one of the building, is it Brett the inspector in Deering Harbor?
no
No,
longer.
No longer, okay, but if he, say he still was, and he knew that the person's license in the village was revoked, and then they came to Shelter Island to apply for one, I'm just saying,
So what do you propose?
I don't know, you just, there should be some, maybe some way, if somebody is, I don't know, I have to really think about that wording.
Help me with the wording you object to, Peter. You're 98.9? We're 98.9, yeah?
Right, well, the guy that came over that
Peter,
got the, yes.
let's read it. Can you see it to read? And if you would, just show me where you have a problem.
Or you liked unfit or undesirable.
Well, no, I didn't like those words, but somehow there maybe should be some mechanism. It says like, okay, it basically says, if you haven't had it, basically, the way I read this, if you haven't had it revoked on in Shelter Island, and you give us a check and you give us insurance, you got a license.
Right. Okay. I don't have a problem leaving it, actually.
What if their license wasn't revoked, but they came before the.
Well, they have an
license-
opportunity to appeal. Never forget that, all right? They can appeal the
I'm
review.
just saying, if they came before the license review board and their license wasn't revoked, but we allowed them to continue to finish the job so that people could move in or something, you
And
might
what would
want to
you,
be able to take that into consideration.
what do you got?
That's all I'm
Well,
saying.
I was just thinking, because we stop at like, has had their license suspended for a certain period of time or revoked, we could say in the town of Shelter Island or any other town.
So that's one of our conditions of licensing then,
Yeah, that's, yes,
that their licenses also have to be in good standing.
right.
Okay.
I don't
How
know.
are we going to know that?
I know,
That's,
yeah,
that's,
you
I
wouldn't
mean,
know, but
I'm
if,
trying to like
right.
find wording that
I
like, is
understand.
actually.
but if, I'm just saying, if the building department's talking to, it's,
I would just leave it. It hasn't been a problem.
yeah.
Unfit or unreasonable?
You know what I mean? And then that would be something they would supply, and they would come for a hearing to find, to challenge the denial.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a legitimate
So
thing.
basically.
It's a legitimate thing, Peter, you're bringing up the right
Anybody will
thing.
anybody can get a permit, I'm just saying, if they're under four things. License hasn't been suspended on Shelter Island, you got a check, you got in liability and workers' comp, you'll get a license.
I think Reed is going to object to unfit or undesirable.
Yes, yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
subjective.
Yeah,
And so
okay, so
that
let's
was
leave
why
it,
I-
that's more lawyers, yeah.
Why? Because it puts a responsibility on him to find out if they're unfit?
Yes, yeah, it's subjective, and so,
I-
just the challenges to that.
So what about the investigation exactly?
You mean the,
There is an investigation that describes, right? Examine the application and make such investigation as he deems necessary. What might that be?
it's a good question.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's my special.
I'm just saying, I think there was like no
That's
way,
right
out.
here.
if you know this guy, you know, you have a friend on the
So
north.
he happens to know, he knows a guy who knows a guy that says, okay, this guy isn't so good, so he doesn't, that's an investigation deemed necessary. I mean, the
Okay, so now
reason,
we're back to unfit and
and then,
undesirable.
again, you have the opportunity to appeal the denial. And that's come before us, right?
Isn't it?
Eh?
I think it's hearsay if some other contractor says, oh, that guy's.
Well, you could call up the phone, you know, call up the phone, you could call up the other building inspector and say, what's this deal with this guy? About this light, and that's a legitimate investigation.
Yeah.
And if it's hearsay, you know,
Yeah,
it's all hearsay in that regard, but if they've got proof, then it stops being hearsay. I don't know. I mean, if somebody put that in there because they thought maybe somebody might know something and have reasons, you know, you're trying to protect yourself from nefarious individuals.
right, and I just wanted like some little way that they could, because it seems like you have to issue me a license. If mine hasn't been suspended, you get a check and you get insurance.
You like that?
No, I think that there should be
There
some,
should, I think it's there. I think you're
Okay.
killing it. Let it be. If he deems it necessary,
okay,
he's gonna have to eat that.
okay.
That's part of being a boss. And they're quick enough to break people's
Yeah.
hump other times, you know, so just do it now. Or what's your answer for that, Amber?
I'm gonna leave unfit or undesirable, but also put in or has had their license suspended for a certain period of time.
That would make them undesirable.
True,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it gives Reed a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
more,
Yeah.
to, you know, the building department a little bit more.
Okay.
But that, I have, Reed has to look at this and the town attorney has to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at this.
Yeah,
There's probably a very simple few words that will cover that whole thing.
Yeah, and what I say is that those guys are in the field, you know, I mean, or,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? There's more to it, I think. Yeah. Listening to their points of view.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we can turn the page.
yes.
So now we're on appeal of denial,
Appeal.
which is the old 10, new 9. Under B, the decision of the licensing review board, town was still left in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, here, we go, okay. And then license fee, old 11, now 10. And under,
What you want to think, I'm sorry.
under license fee.
Yep.
Let me just take a look. I wrote a note to myself, thought keep, but now I'm looking at the old draft and I have it crossed off. So, never mind. We have two edited drafts going on at the same time.
Would it make any sense to move the conditions on the terms, or back, follow terms? Or make it terms and conditions? 9812, 98.6?
Oh, I see, terms of license, conditions.
I mean, I'm used to reading the phrase terms and conditions, generally
Yeah.
speaking. But that's just housekeeping, that's not necessarily, you know, functional.
I think if any of us, the four of us wrote this chapter from scratch, it would be about 1 page or 2.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Oh, yes. This is
We're
gonna,
getting there, there's a lot of
I
red,
would say, this is gonna be a much shortened.
Yes,
we're getting
I
there.
can't wait to read it without all the
No, absolutely.
lines.
I think any errors or omissions will be glaring at that point.
Yes, yes. Okay, so then we're gonna take conditions,
I'm just thinking that sort of tightens it up for me a little bit.
terms, because under terms, all we had was all licenses shall be valid for 1 year.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it
And then,
stretches it out a little bit, gives it a little more.
okay, all right, so then move to terms. Do we want it to say terms and conditions?
Yeah, I think terms and conditions.
I hate the lighting here. It's like trying to do this kind of editing, it's like,
Yeah.
But going back there, so that would be, okay, so the one that was left behind then is going to actually remain A.
So I repeat,
I'm back on terms of license.
Yeah.
98-6, so then we crossed off the A because it was just hanging there by itself.
Right.
But now it's going to stay A. And then under conditions, then the first one is going to be,
yeah, well, you just changed A to K and moved it up, and then you have to recreate an A for that section, because the original red line A
right, got crossed off.
belonged up there
Okay,
as a
so
K,
then,
or in that section, yeah? Okay.
right, so then no license, where are the conditions? So no license issued hereunder shall be assignable or transferable, so that becomes B.
Right. So the next one, the existing B, I have a little question with it. Needs to add insurance. Says failure to make application and pay the required fee for license renewal prior to the date shall render it, the license null and void. Well, also, if you don't give a current insurance certificate, it would be null and
But
void.
that's also one of the terms of the license, isn't it?
Well, then maybe we could just eliminate it here then. I mean, either we need to add insurance to make this match up there, it's just like we're re-emphasizing it, or just write that whole paragraph.
Like I say, I would suggest that you type the thing up once we get done removing things, and then you'll see how grammatically and sensibly it'll work once it's all,
Right.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Because right now you're reading over a bunch of red
Yeah,
lines.
yes, yeah.
That makes sense.
It gets a little crazy. I think it'll be a lot easier to pick those things out. I think you're probably right. You know, there'd be a smarter way to say the whole thing,
Right,
to
right,
see what we're trying to say.
right. I mean, we kind of like, to me, either this is like, do you really need this condition? Like, yeah, if you don't pay, you don't, it's void when it renews, yeah, on the expiration date. I mean, that's,
It's probably just about time to, you know, type that thing up, and then it'll be
Yeah.
much more obvious, I think.
Which, where were you? Because I was still like.
9812B.
Okay, so
Yeah,
failure to
98,
make application, pay the required fee.
Because they also have to have insurance, either add insurance or strike the whole thing, kind of.
Well, you can't make an application without the certificate of insurance, can you? That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Right,
Okay, so I mean, making application is lumps that together if you're looking for economy of language, but,
Yeah.
you know, insurance isn't separate from the
well, when it,
application.
I mean, if you don't pay, it has an expiration, to me, the license has an expiration date. If you don't get a new license with a new expiration date, it's expired, you don't have a license. So I think you could almost strike that whole paragraph, it just seems. like-
You could.
There has to be some common
Yeah,
sense,
failure,
you know,
yeah.
it could.
You could, but I don't know that I would. Just remind people,
I'm trying to,
don't be
yeah,
an idiot.
but then I just say remind him about the insurance then. If you're gonna do if this paragraph is just strictly for reiteration.
Peter, you're not always dealing with the smartest people in the world either.
No, I know, so
Let's be honest
but I'm
about it.
saying, if you're making this paragraph call reiteration, then mention the insurance in it.
Okay, fair
I mean,
enough.
I'm just saying,
Like I said, that may become obvious once it's typed out.
yeah, yeah.
This thing is such a hash, it's like a disaster. The house that Jack built, you know, additions here and additions there, and 50 years later, it's like, oh my God.
And I guess the next thing it says, they must immediately report to the building department any lapse in insurance coverage.
Okay.
D.
Oh, so there it is. So we don't need to add it in B. Or you're saying combined B?
I mean, that actually, that is the key thing, because again, the license application and the insurance thing don't coincide, so this is a separate mention of it, so it's in there.
Yeah, but to me, it should be in there in one
But
paragraph.
I don't know if it should be, because it's
I like it highlighted as a single line item.
Okay.
Yeah.
just as you pointed out, because the renewal of license and renewal of insurance come at staggered times. So it's not a bad thing to have it called out individually. I think that's what I was saying.
So then the one-
But D says, you must report if it lapsed. It doesn't say you have to submit it when you reply, when you do your renewal.
Well, once you reported the lapse, that's the end of your license. You're suspended until such time as you show them the certificate. So I mean, it doesn't have to say everything, speaking of smart. Right?
You're nitpicking.
Well,
That's what he
I'm trying to
does. He's
consolidate.
a Virgo, he can't help himself, I know.
Trying to consolidate.
It's a sickness with us. It's a- Try that defense in court, Peter. Well, it didn't say I actually had to get any, it just said had to report the lapse.
I could think you just change B, you could say failure to renew your license for the date, it will expire. I mean, it's like, it makes it null and void. I don't know, something. Seems just very verbose. Like,
I'm keeping it as E,
okay,
the new E. Under 98.6. Okay, so then I think we're on to,
disciplinary.
okay, yeah, so then Article 2, disciplinary, but that's not going to be the next section.
Right.
It's going to be Article 3.
So do you want to go to Article?
So let's go to new Article 2.
Okay,
So our brains are going in the order that it
Yep.
should be, prohibited acts.
Yes. That has a nice ring to it. Prohibited.
Think for a second. So we had license fee was 10. And then 12 goes away. Because we're combining it with 6, which then means renewal becomes 11. And 12 through 12 through 19 are reserved. Okay, now I'm ready to move on.
so I have a question. What is the difference between false and falsely under such practices?
In Article 2,
It's Article 3, but it's going
It's
to
gonna be
become
Article
Article
2.
2. Prohibited acts.
prohibited acts, right?
So which one are you under?
Well, D1, any falsely disparaging, it just seems kind of clumsy there, I don't know.
Well, the disparaging,
Well, because you could disparage somebody and it's true.
right, the truth is your best defense.
Oh, okay,
So,
Truth is your defense there.
okay.
In another lifetime, you were a frustrated editor, Peter?
See, it would be inappropriate usage to say any false, disparaging, or misleading, or,
Couldn't you
Consent.
say any false or misleading verbal, we're saying verbal, or written statement, oral statement, I don't know.
stop the trade name. Yeah, you could get rid of falsely disparaging altogether if you wanted.
I think.
I mean, that's, I think, meant to point out somebody that's bad mouthing somebody else. Right?
And
It's an all other and/or.
what is a visual description? Is that like a blueprint, a plan? Or is that like somebody like saying, oh, it's gonna look beautiful? And it's like, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what visual description,
should it be depiction?
maybe.
It's painting a misleading picture of things for somebody. Salespeople do that. You know, you don't do that much of it, the way it used to be. You know, I mean, certain kind of contractors are trying to push something and other people are, just doing what they're told. Like I said, this was supposed to be a sort of a defensive document.
Visual description, maybe, say, oh, this roof shingle, oh yeah, it's gray, oh, well, it looks greenish in this light.
Is this,
I don't know.
this is the original here, right?
Yeah,
The prohibited act thing. But where's all the thou shalt nots that were there earlier in the document? Did they go away or did I just lose them?
No, this is largely unchanged.
yeah, we didn't do much in here.
There was another, I mean, there was a whole slew of that stuff.
We did down
In old Article 2, which will
Okay.
become Article 3.
Okay, oh, I see, so that's, all right, got it, okay, so,
Because that was the penalty section.
all right, fine, thanks. So I knew there was a section that was like almost completely reiterated by this.
Yes,
And we got rid of that, right?
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
It's going to be a shortened section. All right, so back to your,
Where was I?
so you were like following up on something. I just had a question mark.
You go.
Under, so we're at 98-30 prohibited acts. I'm changing it from 30 to 20.
Right,
And then under the
D1.
One. D, to use in any oral or
Gonna
representation.
change all the orals to verbals now? Just curious. Oral argument, if you want to know the truth, in legal, they do oral argument, they don't do verbal arguments.
Well, you have a verbal contract versus an oral contract?
You know, in a court, you have oral argument.
Yes, so oral here might be okay. I'm actually
Yeah.
okay with oral here.
Oh, if it was split it with you, okay.
Yeah.
Jeez. Earth girls are easy. Earth girls are easy. All right.
You won one, Paul.
No,
And back in D, I had underlined, wait, was it D? No, B. Innuendo, exaggeration, innuendo, or ambiguity.
Ambiguity.
Yeah, thank you. It's getting late in the day, I don't want to talk
Yeah.
anymore. But I had it underlined with a question mark. I think maybe just because of the subjectiveness of it.
Yeah,
I sort of feel like, let the lawyer tear this apart.
yeah, most of this section is more
Yeah.
legally kind of,
I think they'll combine like
Yeah, I think we let Steve at this.
half a page into one.
the American tourists are monkeys here messing with the luggage here.
Exactly.
Put it down.
Yeah, yeah.
More is better.
Somebody thought so.
And then they go through the deception thing to the point of pain. Falsely stating this, that, and the other thing.
I think back under H, you took out one consumer, but we're going to take out the other consumer. So falsely stating that a transaction involves right remedies or obligations.
I would, like car dealers would have to follow I.
I mean, honestly,
Falsely stating services.
Which car dealer, right? I wish car dealers had to follow that.
Did I hear that Hubbard's closing? Did I hear that? Yeah.
This whole unconscionable trade practices, we need to talk about airplane crashes and blizzards and.
it's again, you know, they're backed up and run over it again, right?
I'm just gonna put legal input on that one too.
Yeah, I just think that's,
Mhm.
I mean, any lawyer being asked to prosecute this is gonna have something to say about it,
Yes,
probably, you know?
exactly, yeah.
Like, maybe do that.
So I'm done with this section.
okay.
And then we've got 98-22
Right.
through 29, no, 21 through 29. Reserved. So now we go back to the old Article 2. Oh,
Disciplinary procedures.
yeah, so disciplinary procedures becomes Article 3. It becomes 30, 298-30.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice and 20.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to find my,
Oh, you're,
Now, this is where we were gonna roll up 3 and reference 3 in this, right? Because if, I'm sorry, did I jump?
no, I'm.
Article 2?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, so if the function, you can actually just say any violation of Article 3,
Right.
or,
Well, we've got-
or this section. It can be a lot shorter than this, because this is the thing I was thinking of.
Yes, and I think once we get there, so we've got the formation and composition of the license review board. So we still have to keep those sections in.
yes.
And I thought we were going to have served no more than 3 years rather than 2 years. Especially since some of you were appointed for
More than 3,
more than 2 years.
more than 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bless you. And again, don't milk it.
I only get one blessing.
I only sneeze once a day. It's a lot when I sneeze.
I feel like we had some change. Let me just make sure this went through under function.
Aren't a lot of these things,
The same as in all, like, this, to me, that A should be kind of consistent with other committees and boards, right,
Yes,
A.
yeah,
I
so I
would-
think that was fine.
Yeah,
Like, I didn't have any change there. It would be under the function, because we still have recommendation to the town board.
there's a significant overlap, in other words, in the function section and Article 3. I thought.
The function of the board,
Well, if you look at it, you have B, function, and then it lists all these various things, they're numbered out, and then you get over it, and that's listed in the prohibited acts things as well.
yes. Yeah, we were going to, I think, get rid of
So that was gonna be compared and then weeded out.
But I'm still stuck on the first paragraph.
Because that's town board.
First paragraph of the function section?
Yes,
Because that's town board in there.
right, so it should be, to hear and determine any complaint or grievance that may be the basis. I think just.
Just for
For
suspension.
suspension,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Skip that. So you just get basis for suspension, you go right to
It's just,
right?
it's like repeats it again,
Well, that's,
suspension.
yeah, that's what it's like,
I'm like, what the heck?
yeah, I'm like, I have like purpled out things in my own
Yeah.
time. Yeah, so I think it gets rid of,
Suspension or the revocation of a license. And then you,
upon a finding.
maybe the basis. By the licensing review board, so if you get rid of recommendation by the town board, to the town board,
Yeah, and then get
and
rid of or.
and then just hop right over to, or that may be the basis for suspension, yada, yada. And so basis for suspension or revocation of a license by the licensing review board.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
And then,
I said it differently. I said it is the function of this board. So I was getting rid of the recommendation of town board, and then it was so that they may be the basis for suspension or revocation of a license, and then get rid of all of this, because
it's
it's
repetitive,
this
yeah.
on a finding that the licensee has been guilty of any one of the following.
All right, so this,
Yeah, I think that's what I did. So, yeah, you're almost the same as me, just getting rid
rid
of
of
by.
that, you get rid of that, so
Yeah.
this just hops.
Yeah, so get rid of by the licensing review board, because it's a function of this board, so you don't have to say this board again.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it seems to me we have this such grievance, which is in red, is in the wrong place. We're going to following, and then we're going to like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, yeah. Yeah, Kim, do you know why? I don't have that in my.
I know we wanted to
notes.
put it in somewhere, but it seemed like that wasn't where. I would say up in the very first line,
Yes,
here and determine any complaint or grievances made to the building department that may be the basis for recommendation to.
Yes,
That's where it should be.
yes, you got it.
Yes.
Got that, Kim?
Nope, but I'm gonna be going with him.
Okay.
Yes, so I
You lost
very,
me on a low.
I know.
I didn't work out. That was, I can't follow the discussions.
No, yeah.
But I'll be paying very great attention to Amber's notes.
yes,
Yeah, that's up in that first line.
I got it.
No,
Okay.
it's gonna come up that you're gonna probably have an official complaint formed at some
Yes,
point,
yes,
right?
yes, once we get this done, then we have to have
Right.
the forms to support it.
But that should be the avenue.
I assume that they could do it, it'd be online, somebody could do a complaint online instead of having to try to get into the building department to physically pick up a form and then.
Well, yeah, online.
Yep.
All right, so going down the list, so we got rid of 2, we got rid of 3.
The
and
two's listed there. Or the numbering is out of sequence then,
Right, yeah, that 2 has to go. Good
Yeah,
catch.
right.
I didn't see that.
and then it just drops.
Okay, so then 4 becomes 2. Now, I had a note that Paul had a combination of 4 and 9.
Well, 4 we got rid of. It's failure to display the license.
Um,
That we got rid of, right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
it's doing-
Yeah, that was,
And
yeah.
failure to,
Oh, yeah, that was number 5. That was old 5.
okay. Here.
Oh, yeah, that should be crossed out down below. But with the new 2, I thought we were going to do some sort of combination between old 4 and 9.
remember that. You display the license in there. What's 9? Any fraud? The old 9 or the new 9?
The old 9,
Okay,
abandonment or willful, let me just look at that.
no.
Since all these things are listed, couldn't it be failure to comply with anything?
Yes, I mean, there is that in,
Chapter,
there is in there.
this whole chapter.
That's what there is that in there as well. That very phrase is in here, so I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, I think this section has to be gone over with 3 and
Right.
overlaps determined, and find out, just decide which way you want to go with it. One of them can be really,
Repeat it in the same word
I
format.
would say that 2 is probably the most likely one to be significantly shorter than it is now. And then 3, the prohibited acts one, where those things are enumerated, would be the place where you
Yeah.
put the various things in. Look for overlaps and then just,
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can bundle those 2, I think, and one of those 2 is gonna come up a lot shorter than the other, than it is right now.
Yes, and the new 3, the disciplinary.
But I think 3, it covers a lot of 2,
Yeah, okay,
or vice versa, however you want to,
yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But that's gonna be, maybe early in the morning before you're burned out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I'm not under these horrible lights.
Right, right.
It was kind of editing.
Yeah.
This,
This is, you have to have your thoughts with you,
yes, okay.
and fewer of us.
Okay, got it. All right, so then we'll just skip over this. It's a cross out.
Can I just ask you guys to go back, so I'm, licensing review board, formation and composition, number 5. At least
Yes.
one member of the licensing review board shall be a current property improvement contractor who resides. Are we hoping to have that person?
No, we changed that,
Or retired.
Or a
or
retired.
retired.
current or retired, right?
Yeah, this is,
Okay,
yeah, it's
or
kind of
retired.
wordy.
I'm sorry, I thought it said
So-
and.
Shall be or have been.
The question is, are we putting the cart before the horse? Because you say that it has to be that, well, nobody has that license. Because it doesn't exist yet, a property improvement license.
Right, but it will. None of this
Yes, I
exists. None of this. You're right, Peter. That's what he's actually wanting to hear. You're right.
Or
Peter.
retired
You're right, Peter.
home improvement license, because I retired with a home improvement license, not a property improvement license. I mean, I don't think it matters, but I'm just,
Oh,
I want to know what happened to the candy dish.
that's why, that's why things get
place is going right straight to hell.
Yeah, things were a lot smoother and more civil up in this room before, when there's a candy dish.
You're looking for energy, aren't you? Yeah, what time is it?
I'm
Yeah.
like the budget
Yeah.
person who's.
Oh, yeah, that's,
spending
I'm sure it was the candy that did it.
Exactly.
It was the
I'm trying
candy.
to get it back to town board. Bring candy in.
Yeah.
So yes, we should,
No, I would always bring,
we should move it
the
on.
day I was first sworn in, I gave, because I was always up here at the meetings prior to being elected, I was always eating candy, so when I swore it in, I had a bag there, and I dumped a bunch of bags of candy. I gave to Dottie, I said to start filling the pot up.
Yeah, the catch-all phrase in 2B is, what? Yeah. Oh, that's not the, I missed it, sorry.
Which number?
Candy,
Whoa.
candy.
Dixon's fussy.
Well, we have differing
This is not,
tastes in candy.
Yeah.
There are those of us who like chocolate and peanut butter, and then there's others who want hard candy. Oh, sorry, Kim, I didn't offer you.
That's okay, I'm good. I'm fine, thank you.
What are you, indiscriminate, Shepherd?
So,
Are you indiscriminate? Candy?
regarding candy,
Yeah.
no, I'm not, I'm quite fussy.
Oh.
It has to have sugar.
Okay, so before we got off on the candy tangent.
Yeah.
Where were we? Kim, you were saying something about formation and composition?
I was just questioning, I didn't really read that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Or,
Okay, we're good.
I thought it was saying and,
Mhm.
so.
Okay. All right, so then B, the function, I'll take a look at in conjunction with Article 2 and eliminate duplication and make a reference to contained in this chapter.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of things that we have, I think, in this one that belong in the other one.
Well, like I say, it's gonna be one or the other.
Yeah, because we had like,
You're literally gonna have to sit there with them,
and go,
color code them or something,
yes.
say that this says the same thing as that.
Okay.
I'm sure you're gonna find a bunch of. I can't do that because the doctor said I'm not allowed to do those things anymore.
Right. So then that means we can, all right, so that's function.
And then if you'd like, I will give that a shot.
Yeah, if you want to.
Well, let's not get crazy here. So I'll do it.
Want is,
Let's see. I'll just write out all the overlaps. Some of the verbiage is just insanely just convoluted too. It's like, oh, yeah.
so then we're done with, like, so function has to get redone. The next piece is procedure.
So I'm a little confused. So if 3, it says a license has to be, go before a hearing to be suspended or revoked. But what if they don't renew their insurance? Can't just the building department say, well, we have to revoke your license? I mean,
But we determined that they're not really going through.
but if they find one,
Oh, they
that
find
they
one.
find one, and they call the person and said, no, I'm not gonna redo it, it's too expensive. And they say, well, you have to have it. They say, no,
Then the bill, yeah,
then
you're
we're
right.
revoking it. But I think that should be, that's more a mechanical thing. That should be able to be done without hearing, because that you gotta have all this.
There is automatic in there somewhere. The loss of insurance is by law, by act of law, if I recall, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I don't. If I recall, it's at the very end of
Yeah,
something.
automatic suspension is 22,
Yes.
yes. Any license, yeah, so that's.
Well, I almost, but then somebody could argue, it says, yeah, but it says there's no suspension. I didn't have a hearing, so you can't suspend it. I mean, it's like kind of a little bit contradictory.
Well,
Maybe say-
it is because it's a different,
Maybe it should say there should be no suspension of license other than automatic for lack of insurance. Or something like that. I don't know.
ready to kill myself with that candy.
Shouldn't have brought it in. You need people that would smack you on the back.
Now I gotta reload.
No pain, no gain.
Try lifesavers, because you always breathe through the hole if you get it stuck in your throat.
I was afraid, I brought a knife with me just in case, you never know, my God. Which one of you is gonna do the tracheotomy? Crikey.
License.
Oh, so what you got hung up on now?
Okay, so automatic suspension. So any license issued under this chapter shall be suspended immediately by operation of law, and the contractor prohibited from performing any work in the town of Shelter Island upon notice to the contractor of the lapse, cancellation, or any other termination of liability or workman's compensation coverage, and such suspension shall remain in effect until such coverage is reinstated. I think it's fine.
Okay. I could just see somebody arguing with three, say, hey, it says there shall be no suspension. I didn't have a hearing. Maybe it just should they, license may be suspended upon recommendation or something
No,
like.
because, I mean,
Yeah, okay.
but it says like, until such coverage is reinstated, so if they show proof of reinstatement,
Okay.
then, like, they don't need a hearing.
Well, I mean, I think that it's not altogether an unreasonable argument, Peter, that you're making. But that is, contradictory. But I don't know if it's necessary is to put it just exactly that way.
I will put it in to ask the town attorney
Yeah.
if a hearing is required.
You shouldn't for insurance, but I'm just saying, if it's saying in this thing, it says there shall be no suspension of a license without a hearing. I maybe say other than for lack of insurance, other than, or something, I don't know.
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, so except for,
Well, you could actually just change that to the license review board will not suspend or revoke a license without hearing. Because we wouldn't be doing it in the other instance.
right,
Mhm.
But that's really what that's about. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Does that work?
yes.
What's the difference between ground or grounds?
Where are you, Pete?
Fourth line in 3. Such a notice will specify the time and place of the hearing and the ground or grounds, which will be the subject of the hearing. Wouldn't it just be the grounds?
Yes, just grounds.
Yeah. Eliminate, cross off ground or.
If there's only one, we'll just have to live with the fact that there was plural provided for.
Okay, where were you? I was editing.
Fourth line here, to see ground, the ground,
Oh,
I've never heard the word ground. It's always grounds for revocation, ground for getting a tick grounds for this, not, I don't know, grounds.
Yeah,
I mean, unless there's some
so which, are
legal,
we taking this, we're keeping singular or plural?
I think plural,
We're keeping plural,
yeah, get rid of ground or.
okay. Yep.
And isn't that like saying the same thing? And it shall state the purpose of the hearing? Isn't that kind of what the ground, I mean, I just think
Yeah,
like we're
you're
saying the
right.
same thing over and over and
Yes.
over and over
Yes.
again.
Yes, you're right. Well, we could get rid of the grounds.
Yeah, get rid of that whole
Yeah. So,
time and place, and it shall
And
state the
shall state,
purpose
yeah.
of the hearing.
yeah, I like that better.
And then it kind of seems a little weird, it says should be suspended, whether a license should be suspended and whether a recommendation of suspension should be made.
She should be responded or revoked, and then get rid of the
Yeah,
recommendations.
because it used to go to the town.
Just for it, right,
board,
so and it says whether license should be suspended or revoked, period,
Yeah,
I think.
I mean, the whole purpose of it is to make sure that the person who's being informed is completely informed of what's going on, so they can prepare for it.
Yeah.
Probably better.
Yeah, so it's gonna be the determination of the license review board. Yeah, the grounds.
And I guess if some contractor is doing something so blatantly and unsafe there, you know, you don't have to wait the 10 days kind of thing. The building department can issue a stop work order.
Right, yes. Yeah. Which is outside of this.
Right.
So if we go to 4, that's fine. Powers. So this was procedure, this is powers.
To me, the 30 days kind of
Yeah, that
seems,
goes, yeah, that can go, because it was only when we had the town board involved, it
right.
couldn't exceed 30 days, but, so I think we can get rid of 4 period.
Because we might want to do it for, you say, you can't do this, you can't get a license for a year,
Yeah.
6 months. Yeah, I don't know, you know.
Mhm.
Depending on the, yeah,
And there may be some
The severity of
legal
it.
thing, maybe there's some statute that you can't exceed more than so many years. We could say 99 years, which would mean they'd never get one. I mean, I don't know if you could say that, is what I'm saying. There may be some legal limit in state code, I don't know, I have no idea.
We'll let the lawyer
Yes.
tell us that.
And then in powers 2, would you just change it for like in lieu of suspension or revocation? The license review board may accept.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, 9821 has to change, then the bold has to change to license review board.
Oh, yeah.
And then an A again. And
Okay, and
Now-
license or licensing review board? We've been using licensing.
Yeah. And then in A, it says after a public hearing, but is it a public hearing?
Why don't we just put hearing?
That's gonna go away.
Yes.
Yeah, after a hearing.
The town board, that whole section goes away, doesn't it?
Yes, it just says, that-
We have the given powers in the prior section.
right, it says we can suspend or revoke in powers 1.
I mean, you might want to comb it for something that's salvageable to be put in the other, but
Right, yes, yeah. There may be something in 21 that kind of should go back in
It
20.
goes back the same to 10 days.
that does look like we gain another third of a page.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it looks pretty much the same.
Yeah. I'm just gonna make a
I
note.
mean, I think the 30-day limitation might have been just to sort of limit the powers of an advisory board at that, when they were building
Right.
it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not unheard of, because I know like the fire department, I think like the chiefs can suspend somebody for 30 days and then it has to go to the district, the
Right.
fire district board to do anything longer. Right. So I'm just making a note to put anything noteworthy for the 98-21, suspension or revocation of license by the town
I
board.
just skimmed through it and it all seems like it's exactly redundant.
Uh-huh,
So I almost think that that whole chapter could come out.
yeah. That's good, because then automatic suspension becomes 31.
Um, Automatic suspension, besides insurance, shouldn't it have lack of the license for a pesticide person or landscaper? Shouldn't that be in there? 98-22,
Yes,
right, Paul?
Oh, you're saying if you have somebody that's actually applying things that they aren't licensed to apply?
No, to get their license, they have to show insurance, and if they're doing pesticides, they have to show their pesticide
Do we
license.
license pesticide people separately?
no, we just check and make sure.
We just make sure that they have it, but if the building department gets word that that license expired, because maybe it's a different date and they didn't renew it, and it says that license is for a
That
year.
license isn't under our jurisdiction, that's under someone else's, so we would report that.
But
Insurance isn't under our jurisdiction either, but we
Right.
require.
we require it.
Require it, but that's what I'm asking.
We require them, if they apply pesticides, we're requiring them to have a pesticides license.
Right, but we don't license them.
No.
Okay,
But we give them a property, they will get this license. The landscaper that does that, if they are gonna be applying pesticides,
Okay.
has to have that in addition to the insurance. I'm just saying, if that lapses, that should be grounds for automatic suspension, just the same way insurance is.
Yes,
I don't know that I would agree with that. Because they're separate things. The application, it's regulated by a different body, so I don't know that I would necessarily take their right to make a living away because they could, one part of it. They weren't licensed, or their insurance for the pesticide. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's a separate thing. I don't know that I would necessarily take their
So
way
they
right to
can
mow
do
grass.
other stuff besides, they can do other landscaping stuff,
Yeah.
but not apply pesticides.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
It's
yes,
a
okay.
separate thing. I wouldn't necessarily shut the business down because they did that. It's like, but I would, make note of it and,
you make a good point.
right? I'm just trying to
Mhm.
think right here.
Yep.
How about
I can't talk good, but.
any
The rain's still up.
contract, how about something like any contractor applying pesticides with an expired pesticides license is like grounds for automatic suspension?
Again,
But if he's actually doing it, It's one thing if he's not doing, but if he's actually doing it, you want to stop him.
You want to stop them, you could stop that, I think, by reporting them, right? I mean, if that's all they do, that's one thing. But if you're gonna stop them from cutting grass or, whatever.
But you're not gonna cut him. I'm just saying if he cuts grass and you see him applying
I'm
stuff.
thinking of Walt Richards, let's put it out there. Walt sprays, and he
Right.
also does all the other
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
right? So you're not gonna shut his whole operation down because of that, are you?
Not if his license is suspended for his pesticide, but if he's applying it with a suspended license, yeah, I think you should shut the whole thing down. If he's actively applying.
You're shutting down his spray operation, you shouldn't shut down his whole operation. I think there's separate things.
Where were we, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
No, I'm-
Where were we, when this came up with Suffolk County or state or county license to apply, can we put it in there, just a sentence? Has to have an active license, have to have an active authorization or
Whatever you want.
in that section, I mean,
I'm not fighting against that requirement as much as I'm just trying to keep the things separate so that you don't shut down a whole operation and then all his employees and everything else because he's sprayed when he shouldn't. Because he does other things.
Right.
So let's not put it in automatic revocation, let's put it in under, is that what we're saying? Put it in,
Let's walk it back and say, what would you ordinarily do if you found out that he didn't have a license for the spraying, right? You'd have to report him to this governing body, right?
I mean, I don't know what the building department does or has done or.
Well, this has been a long-standing gripe, that we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
oh,
any
yeah.
jurisdiction.
Right.
But certainly you'd want to know where the buttons are to push. Is that, who issues those licenses? The DEC?
county.
yeah, it's federal, state, or county.
It's-
We used to have FEMA, DEC, DOH, et cetera, in here, but we.
Department of Health? I don't know. We can look that up, I just, I would just hesitate to automatically suspend an entire operation, the spray operation. But is there some way to roll up this, you can't really roll up the spray under the umbrella of the contractor's license. Okay. Well, Pete, you're gonna certainly do it, I'm not saying you can't,
Yeah, I'm
I'm just challenging whether that's appropriate or not. But that's not up to me.
I don't even know Kim, how many people have that license?
A pesticide license, I couldn't tell you.
They don't even know.
I mean, I have no idea if it's like 5 or 50, I have no.
They don't get run through their operation, right?
Well, for instance, like you just say Walter Richards, I'd have to go and look and see how his license, what he states in there.
Right.
Yeah. That doesn't really go through you guys at all, right?
I really have to check it. I don't really know.
Trying to get you to commit to something, I'm just trying to,
I know, I didn't think I could. No, I don't really think I can answer it,
Okay.
so.
That would certainly be a way to, I don't know. Our gripe hasn't really been anything other than we just can't tell them not to spray when we want to tell them not to spray. That's really the complaint, right? I mean, we want to tell the sprayers not to do it. And you don't have any control over it, I don't know. That would,
Again, maybe that's a building department input.
I mean, you'd have to, maybe you could create another stipulation. But anybody you had, in addition to this license that we're issuing, have a spray license in conjunction with it, would have to maintain that license and, the insurance on it as a condition of their landscaping. In other words, I want somebody to know
Right.
that when they're conflating the two businesses, that they're putting their whole operation at risk
Right.
if they're out of insurance with the one.
Right, and they can come in if they decide to get out of the spraying because their insurance becomes sky high. They can go to the building department and say, I'm not doing spraying anymore, so I'm not renewing my license. That's fine.
Yeah, so that's
I have no
a-
problem with that. That should not be,
Yeah.
that's not.
But I'm just saying, full disclosure, would
Yeah.
let them know when they got this, I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but we can make the stipulations we want for our license,
Right.
right? And that could be one of them.
Mhm.
That's something to consult a lawyer about, Amber.
Yes.
If you make events of what
And
my
I'm just trying to figure which section.
Sorry about
to
that.
put it in. I think it's under the prohibited acts. Yeah. I almost want to say, like, add that if the spraying license, like, better wording, if the spraying license is revoked, it voids only that part of their business. Or,
If that's how you want to roll, or you could make it as part of the issuance of the license in general, if you can somehow legally do that. Make the issuance of their their home improvement, the property improvement license.
Mhm.
If they have that business with it, then there's probably workarounds, they can have a separate corporation, there's all kinds of possibilities, it'll make you crazy tracking that down, I don't know, I hope.
okay. I made a note
You
too.
can make the law you want, if you make it obnoxious enough for them,
Yeah.
they'll remedy, you just to make it go away.
Mhm.
No, they don't want to lose the license, so, you have to assume that, right?
Exactly.
What in 98.6, term of licenses, in,
Let me
The
get
Wayback Machine,
way back, term of license.
Wayback Machine.
in E,
Only vague. 98.6.
Yes.
That was another day.
Well, no, but yeah, but the 98.
term of application requirements, go to D, E, rather.
Application requirement, 98,
98.8, okay.
yeah, 36.
Can we put something there on E? Any applicant that will be applying fertilizer pesticide must have a current license.
Must
or be
maintain a
maintain
current
or be
license.
subject to revocation or suspension, or whatever.
We wanted to not put it into the application part, we do want to put it in the prohibited
Prohibited
acts.
acts,
Part.
yeah.
Because that was part of, I think, what we had issues with this current version. It was having a commingling. So I think putting it in the Article 2 section is where it should go. But we can take that wording.
Yeah.
Looks like.
So then I think we're done with old Article 2. If we got to automatic suspension,
Yes.
then now we can go to Article 4.
What do you know there was?
Remedies.
What are you gonna hide in that?
Remedies.
Remedies. Yeah. Ooh, we got rid of a lot of it, I can see. Awesome.
So 5 times the applicable fee is not very much.
$1,000? No, it's what?
$750.
5 times, the applicable fee is $250.
Yeah, I had
It was
1,000.
No, it's $250.
I had,
215, you're right.
yeah, so I had
I remember it well.
$1,250 a day per violation.
That's $1,250, right? No,
Yeah,
$1,200, talk about.
$12.50
You're
every
the
day.
accountant.
It's $12.50 every day
Okay.
per violation.
That's not bad. It's
Trying to get your
it's
attention.
a stiff,
And for
yeah.
violations, if somebody frames this whole.
That's up to that
If
matter.
somebody frames this wall, and it's supposed to be 2x6s, they do 2x4s, is each stud a violation?
It depends. I think that the violation is after notice. That per diem thing is after notice.
We're not giving them we're not giving them violations for building code violations.
Right, right,
We're
that's right,
giving them
right.
violations
yeah.
for
He was just using,
license.
I'm saying that this is post notification, post contact. You're not going to go backwards and say, okay, you've been on the job for a month.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
$40,000 fine. No, that wouldn't be right.
So here's a very general question now, I have to really go back. The license review board is only doing somebody that has a license.
But we need to put
We
in
need to
something.
put in there somebody that doesn't have a license,
Yes.
that is working without a license.
Right, we don't even, that's not even under our jurisdiction theoretically, is it?
I don't,
But this isn't all about us. This section isn't even about us, is it?
Right, this is about,
This is just general home, property improvement contractors. Gotta get it right. But, we're only one section of this, right?
right.
Am I wrong about that? 9820, that's our section. Everything else is just about property improvement contractors. So there's no real issue there.
And the building department has the jurisdiction over the property improvement
Yeah.
contractor.
So if they work
Not
without it, the
license
fines will be
review.
fine not exceeding $2,500 if a contractor performs.
but that's just if they don't have the insurance.
That's it, right, if that's insurance.
Without having obtained a license. Is the first one.
Right, okay. So, can the license review board find somebody who does have a license? That's my question then. It only says here it's a person without having a license can get a fine, or a person who lets his insurance lapse can get a fine.
Right.
So can we,
Can we,
can we issue fines or only suspend and revoke, is my question. Does that make sense?
yep,
B, then, under the penalties, is actually quite specifically out of anything else. It's just about the insurance,
Right.
which is interesting.
but we did, when I envisioned this rewrite, I wanted to be able to
Fines.
find.
Yeah, I
people,
did
like,
too.
Like the guy who came in and
Yeah,
did shoddy work, not up to code.
right,
Like, no, here you come, now we're gonna slap you with something,
yeah. I mean, that's what I said, we did,
right?
and like,
Yeah, that,
right.
yeah.
But this is not allowing the license review board to do that, I don't think.
No, right, not the way this is
The way
written.
it's
This is outside of the license review board's jurisdiction, really. It would be by default if the person's not licensed.
Well, the licensing review board.
No, it
is
says,
making-
well, any person who is not licensed, and I didn't obtain it, can be subject to that 15 days,
Right?
the 5 times the thing, so that's a person not licensed.
Yes.
So we do have jurisdiction over not licensed,
Well, but this isn't us. This is just in general.
okay?
You follow me? We're only the one section with the 7922, whatever it is, or now we're gonna
Which
be,
means we only can revoke or suspend their license.
right. So we're not gonna be dealing with those people. That's a building department issue.
Okay,
You follow me? That's all going to a magistrate. And the others probably will too, and then we'll talk to them post.
well, when we said the thing that it's like, instead of issuing a fine or instead of suspending or that, we had other, what was the wording? We had other things we could do in there. like, like
Reasonable,
like, like the
reasonable.
skin cancer thing, kind of thing. I mean, that could that include a fine or not?
What skin cancer thing?
Don't you remember what it's, like for the wetlands,
Mhm.
the town board, when I was on the board, with, what's her name, Samaya by South
Oh,
Ferry.
yes.
So I'm
Okay,
saying
now I know what
we
you're talking
did
about, yes.
and we allowed other things.
Yes,
So
yeah.
What is it you're trying to accomplish? What is it you're trying to accomplish, just so I know? Amber?
Well, I was thinking, like, so we have somebody who comes, like, somebody who did work on Ram Island. They finished the basement, they weren't supposed to finish the basement.
it's up to code,
So,
so the building department can't issue them a permit for faulty work. It's not faulty, it was just,
It's just done without a permit?
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So there's penalties there, but then we
It's
also.
5 times the permit cost. That's not insignificant.
Right, so, but then I guess.
That would be in the
we
thousands
also-
of dollars.
We'd also like to bring them before the contractor license review board to say, hey,
Would-
you did that, you weren't supposed
You've
to.
got it right here. The person who did the work, but it's not the contractor review board, it goes before a magistrate instead. I mean, you guys are, I kind of was pretty clear that I didn't want to be part of a lynch mob, so
Right.
you gotta know that that's where I'm at. So if I'm fighting it, that's where it's coming from. You've got code right there that says that they're subject to 15 days and then
Mm-hmm.
per diem fine if they continue. So you want them to go before a magistrate and this board, even though they're not licensed? You don't have jurisdiction?
Well, no, the only thing I'm thinking is, would we want to revoke their license and say, hey,
What license? I thought they weren't licensed.
no, they might have been licensed.
They were.
Arbitrarily, they might have
They
been.
might have been licensed, they might not have been licensed.
So come on, we gotta do better than that. You're gonna have to come before me if I'm the judge and tell me he had a license or he didn't have a license. What are you charging him?
Well, that's what I'm trying to talk through.
Okay,
It's like, okay, so say the person was licensed and they,
then the license is forfeit at this point, or subject to forfeit because of the infraction, right?
well, I don't think that says it in here. Or does it?
This is just liabilities and workman's comp. Okay, so that's called out separately. But the license, there's also other code where they talk about permits, right? You're gonna have to do a little cross-referencing.
Or do we do something in the section where,
Well, you have a permit required, there's somewhere, I know that. Okay, there's a permit required thing, and then there's gotta be a thing with the contractors in general. If they do something without a permit, that should be under the prohibited acts thing.
or would this fall under, like I'm thinking, okay, you did the work, you're licensed, you just got caught, you had to go through, go to the ZBA to get your special permit, to get your extra square footage approved, pay a fine. But then do we also want to, review to either revoke their license, suspend their license?
Well, it's not a violation of this chapter in some fashion or
Yeah, that
another?
is a violation if they could work without,
Without proper permits?
yeah,
Right, I mean, if it's not in this chapter, you could put it in there, but I mean,
I think it was in there.
What happens now if somebody does work and they don't have a building permit? How is it
you
handled?
have administrative penalties up to 5 times the cost of the permit.
Yeah.
Whatever it would have been. I
What do you
mean,
think?
if the thing's compliant, you have to remember your motivations here too, right? You're looking for zoning, for a building code compliance, right? If they
Yes.
did it up to code,
Yeah.
and you would
It was
have,
more zoning, it's more, they're not gonna skip it because of the building permits, because of zoning.
okay,
Because they're not gonna finish the basement and do it with the wrong size studs or something like that. They're
Yeah.
gonna do it because it's gonna put them over the square footage, or they're finishing an attic where they should, it's some zoning, more than likely, a zoning.
the zoning board, what's that, a $15,000 thing or something like that? By the time they're all done, these are $5,000.
Oh, you mean in order to,
Yeah, it's not insignificant,
they
guys.
would have had to do that anyways, to do the work with permission.
With the permits, you can't count
You
that.
want to punish them multiple times. A single flogging isn't sufficient.
Yes, to discourage begging for forgiveness rather than asking for permission. That's
Well,
what
it's
we're.
not really begging for forgiveness, they're paying for it, right? 5 times the permit fee.
Yeah, but if they, they get caught, that's the thing, is we're trying to discourage,
Right.
I'm sure that there's a lot out there that we don't know about that people.
I know there is.
Oh, yeah.
I know there
Well,
is.
dock builders used to
But
do that all the time because it's
But Paul,
easy.
shouldn't the fine be commensurate with the act?
Well, that's what usually the permit cost is commensurate with the project. Okay, so it's sort of self-inflating. If it's a big deal, you have multiple thousands of dollars in permit fees.
I've heard other towns say, if you do it without a permit, you want to get a permit, take it out and then apply for the permit.
Yeah,
But we never seem to do that.
no, that's true.
But if they did it once or twice,
Mm-hmm.
It would, yeah.
you know,
I think this is.
I want you to honest, your hand to God, you never did anything without a permit? All right, never mind.
talk to my partner now.
But the issue that previously, whatever, a couple of years ago, there was a basement that was refinished.
Yeah,
But the people bought the house, they weren't involved in the refinishing. Did they know? They saw the house, they liked it, hey. So how does the penalty get attributed to the person that it really needs to
I
go?
would really, I don't know.
well, but before they buy it, doesn't the building department, aren't they doing like this?
We went through this kind of conversation last time, there was a walkthrough usually, but if it's a cash sale, no.
Right.
Right, yeah.
I really don't know the,
I think this discussion,
Someone's gonna get caught somewhere along the line, because if it's a cash sale, nobody cares about whether or not there's a CO on that
Right.
basement. But someone, somewhere along the line, I mean, they're gonna live in a house that doesn't have a CO on the basement.
right.
Okay, they live there for their time, but when they go to sell, I mean, at some point, somebody's gonna catch up with it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it seems like you're getting hung up on this
I think we-
punitive element. I mean, let's look at your society you're living in. Oh, well, I'm seriously, ask yourself if it's collapsing in some way or another, do you feel as if this is Rome in its latter days, or what's going on? I'm asking seriously, because you need to, I'm trying to get some perspective here. You've got
it's just,
penalty.
I mean, it's just when people come in and they're begging for forgiveness and it's like, yeah, you knew, like, you need a bigger slap. Because otherwise you're like, okay, we're gonna do it again. That's sort of what I'm thinking. But I almost feel like we need the attorney here and the building
Yes,
department here,
right.
so that we
Yes.
can
Yeah.
better
Yep.
hash this out.
I was gonna
Just
say.
let me know what day that is, so I'm not here.
Fair
I was
enough.
just going to say, I think almost first to the building inspectors, because, they're the ones looking for the punitive,
Mhm.
yeah, response
Mhm.
to these contractors that are doing this stuff.
I mean, like I said,
They're on salary.
again, you also,
Yes, that's true.
Right?
Yes.
let's talk about that we're assembled here because we have people that may be guilty of multiple times, in which case the building inspector can be the one that brings them in and says, hey, now, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You've already really built that in, Amber, if you have a repeat offender. That's grounds for the building inspector to recommend that they come before us.
Should it,
And then we can assess them a fine or suspension or revocation, however you want to.
should it be like an automatic thing? Anybody going to the ZBA for something after the fact? Like done without, I mean,
I can't speak to that, and neither can you really. I'd almost guarantee it. So we'll have to let the innocent people in the building do that.
What is the building department doing with the Gayer out in Grand Island?
I can't even.
Is that even
That's,
an issue?
Well, and it just it made what you were saying just now. The people who have to go and apply to ZBA to fix or legalize something that was done incorrectly, that is the homeowner paying the penalty. But what's the consequence to
the
the
contractor.
contractor? That's what.
That's what we need
That's what I'm
to,
trying to.
that's what we
get
want to get. The homeowner is paying the ZBA fine. The contractor,
Have at it. No, I'm out.
Mhm.
I mean, they're already, there's a fine associated with doing things without a permit already, that's, right? That goes right to the homeowner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I've seen at ZBA hearings before where somebody did an HVAC installation and they went to one person and the company said, no, you can't put it on the roof. like, I won't do the work. So then the homeowner shopped around and found the HVAC
Mhm.
contractor who would put it on the roof.
Right,
And then the homeowner came and asked for
right.
forgiveness. But I'd like to be able to pull that contractor in.
The HVAC people are licensed here? Are they people that,
If they put generators.
are they are? Okay.
Yeah, actually, are they in the excluded group? But anyway, so that's the kind of thing, it's like to, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that in the code, or in the permits required section or whatever, I mean, however you want to deal with it.
So then that just got me, you just raised the point, which I hadn't thought about too. So obviously, if a plumber or electrician has a license and doing something and they're licensed by the state,
Mhm.
and if they do something not up to code, they get spanked by an inspector. But if they do something without a permit, do we have any recourse to them? They're not licensed with us. They're excluded from getting a
I was just
license.
about to
Like an
say,
electrician,
Yeah, plumber.
electrician from off island, Paul, comes and puts in a generator.
Whatever, you know, honestly,
Yeah, I'm
when I said I checked out, I meant that, I mean, for me, code enforcement is what it's about, really, all right? You're looking for blood, that's not my gig, so, you know, I'll wait until it's before me. I'll
Yeah,
let you
I'm
guys
just-
work that
what
out.
I'm trying to put something in to prevent bad behavior.
Wouldn't we all like that? But I mean, I'm not seeing any innocent people around here. I'm just saying. So I'm not gonna fashion a rope for somebody else. Because I could easily be wearing it myself. I'll leave that to others. Find a place where you want to put it and put it in there.
I'm just trying to figure out how to do it, but maybe we need to clean this up. Bring in the building
Yeah.
department, bring in the attorney, and
Yeah.
then,
I mean, I would just, I don't like to see us get overwhelmed because of routine. I mean, your kids ever do anything twice that you told them once not to do?
of
Right,
course,
did you cut off an arm? No. Did you disown them? No. Right, so these are people, you know, they live here, they paid their money, they take their chances, you know? If it meets code, they probably would have gotten approval. If it doesn't meet zoning, then they gotta go through a $20,000 deal with our lawyers and all this nonsense, you don't think that's punishment enough? I don't know.
I remember when the DEC fines were low enough, this is probably in the 80s, and one of the prominent dock builders, I won't say name, would never get permits because it was always cheaper just to pay the penalties after.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, what Nam was trying to
Yeah,
avoid.
yes.
You know, kind of-
yeah.
You get that? I do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
But if my whole theory was always if it complied, then exactly what was the spirit of the law? Was it to do what we said or to get building code compliance?
Let me ask you this, Paul, how would you handle this situation? I mentioned it, I think, the first meeting. Gayer out on Ram Island. The guy was a building inspector. He did the work. He didn't get a building permit, and he didn't do it to code.
Okay?
Did a lot of decking.
In theory, you can make them rip it out.
How, is that how you would handle it, or how would you, I'm just curious, how you would
If it's
handle
not
it?
to code, I would. I mean, if it's,
At a certain point, you've got to have it compliant. I
if it's
can't
not
give.
to building code, certainly, it should come out. I
Fair enough.
mean, if it's building.
So that would be the
You have to,
building,
you
that
have to
that would
find a way to
be,
make it compliant and show me that it's compliant.
Which I
That's
think
what you'd
is-
have to do.
Which is what happened.
but that would be the building department's
Yes.
decision.
Yes.
Rip it out,
And that's no small.
if they would,
That's no
or if
small
it
feat.
can be.
Well, you know, you can say, make it compliant. That means you've got to expose whatever was deficient and let us see that you've now made it compliant. You follow me? So that's just some thousands of dollars worth of work that he's going to end up doing for free.
Which, to answer your question earlier, I think that's where we left it with, like, what the resolution was for Gayer, that he had to bring it up to code. I think the only thing that we allowed was maybe the staircase going down because of the disability.
So, other than bringing it up to code, were there any fine?
Peter,
Penalty? I'm just
think
asking.
about how much work it is to bring it up to code. At what's,
But whose fault is that?
nobody's
I know.
fault. It's
I know.
his
It's
fault,
nothing
but he's
but-
paying the price with his
though.
blood. He's paying the price with his blood, with his time, and then whoever he has to pay to do it. I don't know, that's just me, I'm not an, you know, this is, I anticipated being 1 out of 4. Because that's not uncommon for me.
But that's why you're
Right.
here, that's why you're here, because we want,
But I don't like, you know,
The back and
the odds
forth.
really stink, you know, and it's really, it's a cumbersome journey.
but then it's also gonna have to go to the town board and have a public hearing too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is just 4 of us. Wait till it's 5 people looking at, you know, trying to vote on this. And then the public.
I'm just, I sometimes feel like the authority gets its nose bent out of shape because somebody, you know, didn't say may I, and it's like, I get that, but you know, how do you think cops ever get tired of giving the same tickets? I mean, it's all the same thing, you know, it's like, if it complies, it complies, if it doesn't, then you have to fix it so that it does. It's not, you know, it's not personal, it's just business. Until you make it what you want, but. Okay, say. All right, move on. We done?
I think so. I think it was the
I feel
last,
done this morning.
we've been here for 2.25 hours.
We'll get it half-ass typed up and then we can see what we've done. I can't wait.
So next steps would be to like get these edits made, we'll circulate them, and then I think before we meet again, we send it to the building department. Unless somebody says, oh, this is like very wrong, but I don't think we got that sense today. So then we send it to the building department and the town attorney.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, since we know what maybe we should just take one last, just not me,
Oh,
but
no,
just
no,
look
no.
at it. Yeah, yeah,
No,
before it
once-
goes, just
Yeah,
because
once today's edits get made.
we know kind of like.
Oh, yeah, no,
what-
once
yeah,
today's
yes,
edits
yes,
get
yes,
made.
yes.
It's not even viewable to anybody else right
yeah.
now, I wouldn't say. It has, it's time now, I think, to type it up rough.
Yeah, no,
So that
do the rest of the
the
red.
next poor soul that has to look at this doesn't have to look at this, but can look at something that makes more sense.
Well, I think what.
You want the red lines in there?
Yeah, you have to, because we're changing legislation. So the red lines.
That's for a vote, but you wouldn't have to have that just for, well, whatever.
But it can be printed out both ways. Like if you don't download it, you just print it, it's not redlined. But if you download it and click the little
Okay.
line on the side, then it's, you get the red line.
You get the red, yeah.
Because I mean, I'm,
That's what I want to do, is once we get these corrections made,
Get it.
I want to sit down and look at it.
yeah, okay.
Both, so.
I can predict that you're gonna say, oh geez, I don't want to take that out too. You know, and it'll be back as big as it was.
No. No, it's gonna be a very shortened version. So we'll call for another meeting when we've got a reason to convene again. Sound good?
Absolutely.
Good, it'll be,
I like
it'll
it.
be
I was gonna say, yeah, we need Zoom.
And maybe even you, depending on when it's all together.
No, I won't,
No, I
I
know.
won't call for it when I'm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all right, thank you.
Finish?
Yes.
Okay.